We will examine one new application that uses a sorted linked list class. Because this application will use a comparator, we begin with a brief discussion of what comparators are and how they are used. A number of classes and methods in the Java Collection Framework use them, so understanding them is important when using those classes as well. There are two situations when they are useful. If a class does not implement the comparable interface, creating a comparator makes it possible to compare objects of that class. But even when a class does implement comparable, they still can be useful because they can provide an alternate comparison technique. Comparator is a functional interface because it contains only one method. That method is compare, which is similar to the compare_to method defined in comparable. The one important difference is that it has two parameters of the generic type t rather than one. Let's consider an example of a comparator, which will be the one that we will use in our sorted linked list example. We define a record named ordered pair that defines a pair of integers and will implement comparable, but also contain a comparator. There are two fundamental ways that any pair of elements can be compared: by treating the first element as most significant or the second. The compare_to method satisfies our claim that this class implements comparable. It treats the first element as most significant. If the first elements of the pair are different, it returns their difference. Subtraction is a common way to produce the negative, zero, or positive values that compare_to is supposed to return. If the first elements of the pair are the same, then it compares the second elements in a similar fashion. Next, we define a class method getCompare that returns that comparator. Because comparator is a functional interface, we can return a lambda expression rather than explicitly instantiating an object. This method is very similar, except it treats the second element as most significant. Before we run this example, let's consider the classes and interfaces involved. The sorted linked list class is the one we are testing. It implements the sorted list interface, which in turn implements the list interface. And the list interface implements both the iterable interface and the collection interface. The main program will be a GUI interface that is defined in the linked list GUI class, which will use the ordered pair record we just discussed. Okay, so let's run this program. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask us whether we want to sort by the first element or sort by the second element. So let's elect to sort by the first element. And then what we're going to do is a series of inserts. So first I'm going to insert the pair 2, 4, and as before, as I do these insertions, you'll see what's in the list at the bottom. So 1, 5, and notice it put 1, 5 before 2, 4 because it's sorting by the first element. And then let's insert one more, which is 3, 1. And we should expect this one to be at the end. And perhaps one more, and this one will be, this will illustrate the fact that when the first number is the same, it then treats the second number. So the 2, 5 should come after the 2, 4, which in fact it does. All right, so let's just test a few of the others. So let's test the get, and so we'll ask to get what's at position 2. So we should expect that to be 2, 5. Remember that positions are counted from 0. And in fact, that's what we do see. All right, and then a find, and let's look for, let's say, the 2, 4, and it should give us back the position it's in, and that should be position 1, which is exactly what we see. All right, and then the last thing are the remove methods that we'll test. So first let's just use the remove that allows us to select an element. So we'll attempt to remove the 2, 5, and we notice that it's removed. And then finally we'll test remove at. So we'll say let's remove what's at position 1, and that should be the 2, 4. Okay, so that was hopefully a very complete test of all of the operations of the linked list, sorted linked list class.